Apps.
Okay, I
I
think we'll.
apologize. The fault was on my own end. So there's a particular feature where they would say something like, what is it again? Add guest. While you're trying to set up something like add guest, okay. So once you click on the add guest feature, they send you a link that can make people to join. Now, in a situation where we're going live, that link will be generated and then sent to all the co-panelists.
Yes.
So I'm waiting for you to say something.
Oh, I said yes. It'll be generated and sent to everybody who is
Okay,
meant to
so
present.
yeah, who is meant to join and will I say co-anchor or partake in the in the discussion. So like I've said over and over again to all those who are just joining, Issachar News is about to start, a live, a live discussion session once a week. Okay, this is an amateur video. We're going to actually make an advert. That'll be the best thing to do. We make an advert, trying to tell our followers and viewers of what we're about to do. And we will also on our different social media handles, other than YouTube, drop the different links, tell us of the schedule, the time, the topic, the interaction, just to help everybody be in tune with what is about to take place. But right now we're doing a test run, okay? And if you don't mind, you can drop your suggestions in the comment section of what you would like, what you think we should do. Right now we're running a low budget. What will I say? Abbas, help me out. This is a low budget live stream. This is a low
Yeah,
budget live stream.
I
So
won't use low budget. It's amateur. So we're going to graduate from that to being more professional. But until we become more professional, we will make improvements based on what we have.
oh wow, this is I'm out of words. Like, we've done three live stream right now, so I've said many things, and I don't know it. I don't know what to say again. So
So basically, if I may, I'm seeing someone say lawyers and big books in the background. Thank you very much for that comment. This is a time to, I think, address one issue that
okay,
inspired to address by that comment. You see, lawyers read books not really because it's related to law, but because it's related to other things. So being a lawyer doesn't restrict you to just things about law. And I think this is important because the people who are here are not are not all economic geniuses. They're not all construction workers. They're not all teachers
absolutely,
and they're not all doctors. But there are people who, despite their fields, go into things which do not necessarily concern them so that they can boast the conversation about national development and the progress of Nigeria. So I'm a lawyer, and yes, I have some books, but I also read a lot of things which do not necessarily relate to law. I follow the activities of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. I'm a public member of the World Economic Forum, and I am a follower of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. So, despite my legal background, I also have some background in public policy and economics. I previously interned with the Office of the Special Assistant to the Governor on Public Affairs in Akwa Ibom. So, I have a fair idea of government. And as well, the several other people who will be bringing in here have extensive knowledge of some aspects of government, some aspects of development. I'm not even talking about our anchor, who sits in a very coveted position of being such a coordinator, a captain of sorts of this ship, which has a diversity of professionals from all ranges of human endeavors. He coordinates this melting pot of ideas, of thought leaders who come together to say, in my field, this is the experience we have, this is how far Nigeria has developed, this is what I'm seeing from the country I live in, despite the fact that I am not in Nigeria. From where I am, it could be in other parts of Africa, it could be in the global, it could be in the global north or in Asia. I see this and I hear what is happening back at home, and I love what you guys are doing. I love what the government is doing. He sits in that very lovely, coveted position, and he might not be the best experienced, but he has heard a lot of things which everybody has said, and from there he can relate that to us. Another reason why we loved this idea and we wanted it to come to fruition was because many times it's easy for people who have clout and control the media narrative to sit back and talk about,
Um,
oh, what's the warning?
Abbas, we lost you for like 3 seconds.
Oh, okay.
But
Where
you
did you
can
leave?
you can go on.
Okay, I'll backtrack. I said that one reason why we really loved to have this come on board was because we wanted to offer some sort of an alternative to
Yes, sir.
the the norm, the norm by big media. Not that it's necessarily bad, but we wanted to do better in terms of the fact that we want to have a forum which is incorporating people who have ideas for the government, who really hold brief for the government, because it's not about sitting in lovely studios and using the range we have to castigate those in authority.
Mm.
I there's this young man who presents on YouTube. He does this. He runs this channel called Economics Explained (EE),
Oh
and
yeah, I
I
know him too.
oh good. If you listen to him and you see the way he analyzes things, you just get to see things a lot more differently. I was in court the other day, and a senior colleague, he's very senior, he started alleging that with Nigeria's debt profile, we are going to sell the NNPC, we are going to sell the presidential jet, very soon
Oh,
they'll sell this. And normally, I wouldn't have interfered with what he was saying because he was a very respectable lawyer. But at some point, I had to say, but please, sir, that really isn't true. We understand that there's debt, but sovereign debt is not the same as individual debt. It is there's a reason why it's not just called debt. It's called sovereign debt. And you have to understand in the context of how nations operate and how nations are different from individuals.
sorry,
If we
Abbas, can I pause you for a second?
oh yes.
Yeah, I've seen a comment here that I would like to just say something too. So I think his YouTube name is Abe M3 TV. Okay, sir. This is a test run video. Okay, like we are planning to have a live stream sometime in the coming weeks. So your comment will be addressed later. We're taking things out. Okay, so this is
Yes.
not really something professional or something ripe. So in fact, most of these things you're seeing now will no longer be on the channel in a short way from now. So we're doing some test runs. So please, everybody listening, just keep your questions for when we will begin in earnest. Okay. So Abbas, please, I think you'd have to wrap up. Let's run away.
No, and here's another thing we won't do on this channel. One thing about Issachar Group and Issachar News is that we are not afraid to explain to anybody who really wants to understand the processes behind something.
Yes,
So
sir.
we are not like a conventional news media who will just come, sit down, and say one or two things and say that this happens, this is what they should have done, this is what they failed to do, they are so incompetent, kiniko kiniko. If you have any other idea, that's your opinion. We have made a broadcast and we don't care. So we're saying that for us, you can count on the fact that everyone here, everyone who anchors, everyone who comes to this show has at their mind the priority to make you understand what we are doing, to make you understand the good in terms of government policies. And just to add to the comment you mentioned earlier, I understand it's very painful to see that we have failed infrastructure, to see that federal roads are bad. I'm not sure whether you would like to hear this, but I could just pull up from my system US federal infrastructure that had failed in the last 8 years. And this is important because people look at Nigeria and think that we are the worst of the worst. Okay, here it is. I want to switch now. US infrastructure is graded C minus for its mediocre. Okay, I'm going to click on this. Says transit systems in the US gets the lowest grade, a D minus, as 45% of Americans lack access to transit and exiting transit infrastructure from subway tunnels to somewhere else. Years of
Wow.
delays, yeah, billions in overruns, the dismal history of so and so. Now, I got sure when I heard that about 40 something federal bridges had collapsed or were near
Oh my.
collapsing. And I wondered what.
Sir, excuse me. This is the US we're talking about. Oh.
Oh, let me accept the cookies now. Oh, there's a pothole season. Hmm. Also, many of the country's roads, bridges, airports, dams, levees, and water systems are aging and in a poor to mediocre condition. Wow, really? I thought this is Nigeria's problem alone. 11 out of 17 infrastructure categories evaluated are graded in the D range. And as of last month, and water failures due to brutal winter storms and extreme. Oh, you said, yeah, it's true. They have brutal winter and cold seasons. That's true. Now, this is not a report card anyone will be proud to take home.
Yes, sir.
We have not made significant enough investments to maintain infrastructure that in some cases was built more than 50 years ago. Oh,
Oh
I
my
thought it's only
God.
Nigeria that does not have a good maintenance culture. Now, I'm not here to lambast the United States. It's a country that just celebrated its independence, and this is not necessarily the best thing to say about the US. I mean, they are really really a wonderful country, and we owe a lot to them. But when we mention the poor state of federal roads, we should also recall that, to be fair to the Nigerian government, we are trying to do a lot. Nigeria is a developing country. Nigeria is in the global south. So we will fix all the roads, but we just don't have the money to do that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it is absurd to say that if the roads will be fixed in naira, we should go and print more naira. Now,
Very fair.
that is technically called quantitative easing. You could do it a bit, but you sure have to deal with the consequences. So the United States implemented quantitative easing measures during the chairmanship of Jerome Powell as head of the Federal Reserve. That really helped to ease inf- uh, the whole setback from COVID. Yes, it did help. But all of that money flowing in the economy meant that there was going to be headline inflation. I think it was last week, as I said, I followed the IMF, and they were saying, oh, yeah, three uncomfortable truths for monetary policy. The first deputy managing director of the IMF was speaking at the European Central Bank Forum on Central Banking. This was last week. And she was saying that inflation is taking too long to get back to target. And she was not speaking about Nigeria. She's talking about the global economy. She's saying inflation has proven persistent. So we are seeing monetary and fiscal policies that are not really working the way we expected them to work. And it's all over the world. How did it happen? One of those things was that during COVID-19 and in the build up to the full recovery, we decided to say, oh, let more economies implement quantitative easing measures. And this is a result of it. There's a lot of money in the global economy, and that money has to affect things somehow. And that's just what we are seeing. So I had to say that because, see, Nigerians, see, your things are hard. Things are hard. We understand that, and it is a very live and palpable thing for some of us. I've had to learn how to walk. I've had to learn how to walk longer distances. I've had to learn how to do other things by the side. But it shows us that life isn't easy. I mean, we're not Venezuela where they're using money to make maths. We're not, okay, look at what happened to Greece for some years back. Greece ran into financial troubles, and because the currency is controlled by the European Central Bank and not the Greek Central Bank, they could not really take the kind of measures in a centrally planned economy like the European Union the same way they would have if they were an independent state. And inflation and that entire economic mess dragged on for years. And Alexis Tsipras, the former prime minister of Greece, I think he has had to step down this year, or whether I think they had an election recently, and he was just the person who has kept faith alive for a brighter economic future in Greece. These are real life challenges,
Yes, sir.
and yes, their problem is not bad roads. So what if Nigeria had a problem like that, where your pensions were not even guaranteed? Yes, Nigeria has bad roads. I travel. I love traveling a lot. And I pray that the roads improve. But till they improve, I will travel on those roads. I will hold my breath when we come to deep potholes and gashes. But I will travel on those roads because millions of Nigerians travel on those roads.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So I beg us, Nigeria has not got to the stage where your pensioner father can't get his pension. It hasn't
Mm.
got to the stage where the NYSC core member really can't believe that the government will pay. We have not got to that stage. So we will fix the roads, but roads are not water leave. They don't grow in weeks' time. It's an infrastructure project. It takes time. During the build up to the 2023 elections, there was this thread on Twitter that said, I hope Nigerians are ready for the kind of Nigeria they want to see.
Mm.
What is that readiness? That readiness means that you have already set in your head the mental image that nobody is bringing any magic wand here. Nobody has nobody has Pandora's box that has the hope of mankind still left inside it. So, oh, this is the
And
hope of Nigeria. As I'm going to open it, I'm going to bring out of it and I'm going to give us. So, nobody has the treasure trove.
mm,
We only have ideas. And like all ideas, we have to hope that they work. We
yes,
know
sir.
that they will work. We have done our best to believe that they will work. But we still need to understand that there's time needed, there's patience needed. And as the Bible says, oh, I'm sorry to bring this in, but this is the Issachar group, and we are like the children of Issachar who discern the times.
Yes, sir.
We obtain
Oh,
promises through faith and perseverance. What is the faith? It's encapsulated in, among other things, the hope which this administration has so banked on repeatedly. And what's the perseverance? Going out every day to do what you can in your little corner to ensure that this country becomes better.
yes, sir.
I I used to pay 700 naira from Aja to CMS in Lagos. And this was way before the Tinubu presidency. When the fuel prices came at such an exorbitant rate, the fares increased to about 1,000 naira, and in some instances 1,200 naira. But do you know what? The fares have come down to 800 naira. And sometimes I wonder, so what really is the problem? Is it that fuel prices have come down? No. So is it that at charging 700 naira, you were still able to make your turnover and you just had, when fuel prices were still good, you just wanted to rip us off? And the answer is yes. So Nigerians must understand that the economy is hard, but we need to help ourselves. We can't extort ourselves. That bus
Mr.
driver,
Van,
yes,
I think we've made this more than a test run.
oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's the comments. It's the comments. Oh, it's the comments.
Please, if you're listening,
I'm seeing Jesus man. I'm seeing so many comments. Jesus man saying it's important to share in the sufferings as a good soldier of Christ. I'm seeing success. Success, please. Could you sit normally? I'm seeing infrastructure attracts foreign investments or investors. I've got few years on this planet Earth and I don't intend to suffer. Oh yes, infrastructure does attract a lot of investors. And I don't know if you saw that there was this news that came up. Um, have you seen that? There's this company which is into construction, which just took delivery of hundreds of trucks of construction equipment at Tinkan Island Port. Were you were you privy to that?
is it for the railroad in
Yeah, the railway, I think between
Kano
Kano.
Marabel?
Yes, yes. There's a company that came in, I think Savvy. So Savvy says it's been in Africa since I think 1960 something or 40 something. And they say with the massive wave of infrastructure projects coming into Nigeria, they are positioned with their current um, expansion in their assets base to participate fully in that. So FDI is coming already. That's foreign direct
Mm.
investment. We keep praying for also foreign portfolio investment. Oh,
So, Mr.
thank you,
Abbas,
thank you very
can
much.
you
Yes.
can you explain
Can
what
you
foreign
explain what
portfolio
foreign
investment
portfolio
is?
investment is?
Even me, I
Even me,
don't know
I don't
exactly.
know that. Okay, so let me show you people what it is. So this is from Investopedia. So this is FPI. FPI is investment in terms of securities, financial assets held by investors in other countries. Now, FPI is, for instance, foreigners buying shares in the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Okay.
So, okay, foreigners taking active participation in the running of, not necessarily active participation, but in terms of capital, sending in capital into the public sector, the finance sector, companies, businesses which are listed in stock exchanges, other assets like that. So we have a situation where Nigeria, for instance, sells bonds. We have made such calls before. I think the highest drive was under President Buhari, where we had a lot of people subscribe to our bonds. I think at a point there was this report that the bonds were oversubscribed. So that could be an example where people take active participation in their investors. Okay, what can we invest in? All of these companies here, hmm, who are startups, in quote, who are looking for angel investors, these are the kinds of investments that they need. They do not necessarily need uh, money, but they need people contributing their expertise to that. So we are having investments in more tangible ways than sending money to Nigeria. I hope you understand. I've lost you, your mic.
Sorry, I muted
Sorry,
the
I muted the
microphone.
microphone. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I'm
The issue is,
with
um,
um,
so for me,
so
I agree with you
I
because
agree
it's
with you
true. I thought
because
you
I
did
thought you
bonds
did
like
bonds like
BUNS.
BUNS.
To be
Oh,
like
oh, like
cancel
sorry.
funds, to be like
Not
BUNS.
bond, bond. So,
Yeah.
and I think this is a good place to address this. So, when people buy your bonds, it also becomes like debt. I don't know if you understand this. So, you are saying, mm, okay, guys, come and take. We are advertising bonds. We are advertising social. Okay, uh, securities. Securities are like parts of a company which people can purchase for money so that they acquire a stake in that company or they receive benefits from that company. So, for instance, Dangote Refinery is a company, and it has been in the media that NNPCL has 20% of shares. It has 20% stake. That means that it has 20% ownership, it has 20% of the shares, of the share capital of Dangote Refinery and Petrochemicals Limited. So that's like a security. Mm? In the same way, for a country can say, or Dangote can say, for instance, Dangote is selling 1,000 shares in Dangote Refinery at the price of 1 naira per share. That's a public offer, and anyone who is interested will purchase those shares. And a share certificate is issued to the person who purchases so that the person has a stake in Dangote for the price that he has paid. So I could, for instance, at that call, purchase 5% of the shares in Dangote. So I'll have 5% of the profits when dividend is declared, but I also incur 5% of the liability. So I'm giving my money, praying and hoping that Dangote does well, that Dangote makes profits, and that the profits after tax and after everything is done is enough for us to have dividend. And the dividend, which is like the dividend is like say the surplus. You imagine that I went to a party and the caterer came and we served everybody who was supposed to be served. So
Uh-huh.
we 12 baskets, which Jesus said the disciples should carry. If the Lord then said, okay, Peter, one, James, one, this person, one, this, two, that is like dividend. So we have shared the dividend. Uh, is there anything wrong?
No, no, I'm
No, no,
with you.
I'm with you. Okay. So we can share dividend. So that's actually what happens. That's the ideas behind, that's the idea rather behind shares. So in relation to a country, a nation will say, okay, we are we're always in need of cash. Every country is always in need of cash. So they say, we're advertising. Whoever wants to invest in us, share liabilities, and get some profits can send in some money. And people come and purchase not shares this time because it's a country, but bonds. So in the case of Nigeria, Nigeria sells its sovereign bonds.
Hmm.
So you subscribe to it technically. So that's how people subscribe to bonds, to
Thank you,
sovereign bonds.
sir.
Thank you, sir. And it becomes part of the sovereign debt because when those people they have actually given you your money or sorry their money, so you have raised some funds from that. Those funds can be used to supplement the budget, to deal with anything, or to or
And you have to
and
pay
you have
back.
to pay back. Yes, but the good thing about bonds is that the interest rates are quite low and the repayment period is extended.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
interesting. Almost every country has bonds, almost offers bonds. Many countries purchase bonds from other countries. The United States of America sells or offers its bonds every time. China has a huge chunk of the United States bonds. I think
Hmm.
this might be surprising. I think Nigeria also has some parts of the US's bonds. I I once saw from some reports from the US Federal Reserve on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet showing how much Nigeria has purchased. So when we talk about debt, the US also owes Nigeria some money. So as I
Interesting.
said, sovereign debt is not come and give me that palm oil which I gave you yesterday. Sovereign debt is different, please. So any country can
Mr. Bag,
mm,
this is
this is
27 minutes.
27
I
minutes.
wouldn't
I
want
don't
to
want to
exceed 30
exceed
minutes.
30 minutes. It's true. Please.
Sir, you keep
Sir, you keep
forgetting. Sir, this is
forgetting.
the
Sir, this
test
is the test
run.
run. This is a test run, no. This is a test run, my people. So we're just using this to we're just using this to let people understand that have faith to keep faith alive,
Yes,
and we
sir.
are Yes, going to be sharing inspiration. We're going to be sharing. See, we are going to be the Barnabases of this country. We're going to be sharing things of encouragement. We're going to be those sons of
And
encouragement.
consolation.
Yes, we'll be offering consolation because if you don't, I don't know who is going to help you. You see, I'm sorry. Let me just say this. Let me just say this because this is very, very true. You see, when when the prophet Elisha said to the king, "Oh, God is going to do a wonderful miracle," the minister of finance said, Man of God, I'm a
Hmm.
PhD holder. I worked in the World Bank.
Yes,
Even
sir.
if God opened up the windows of heaven, it cannot happen.
Hmm.
The prophet said, me, I did not go to university. Oh.
Absolutely.
I don't know about demand and supply. But one thing I know is that you will see it, but you will not partake of it.
Hmm.
And in 24 hours, food prices crashed.
Crashed.
Inflation
Economic
went from
theory.
150% to and the man saw it and he could not he could not eat it. So
Hmm.
guys, all of those miracles, the God of Elisha is still alive. Yes, he might not open up the windows of heaven, he might not allow a huge truckload of sugar and wheat and petrol to show up on our borders. He might not do that, but he's blessing us. He's breathing into us the breath of life, the inspiration of the Holy Spirit to do the things which he would have done were he here on earth. That's why we are here, to
Hmm.
have those lights who he has placed in the different sections of this country not allow themselves to turn to darkness. Those salts of the earth, salts of Nigeria, not to allow them to lose their taste and become good for nothing and not even good enough to be thrown to the manure pile. So that's the aim of this podcast. Edikan, it has been so wonderful speaking with you. Thank you for everyone who made a comment. Thank you so much. I am grateful. Issachar to the moon. Thank you, schoolboy. Thank you, Jesus is King. Thank you, everybody. Disciple. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, disciple, for saying this. He made a very good comment on foreign debt. I really love the fact that we are engaging. So we owe it to our country to really engage, to go beyond the headlines, to go beyond the headlines, please.
Thank you, sir. As you've all seen, if you allow Abbas talk, he may talk to you. So please, I didn't want to say that this is just a first one because it feels like it's a very proper planned talk like that. But I'm sure that we're going to have a different conversation in this. Abbas, can you mute your mic because the echo is very serious.
Okay.
All right, so like I'm saying, we would talk about things very professionally. We would have headlines, would have topics, and would apportion times. Okay, we'll talk about this for 15 minutes. And who I would call our boss. Our boss is not even on this show. Someone that when you listen to him talk, without will I say hyping him or anything, he would really break it down and help you see. And he does a good thing between comparing Nigeria with other countries to help you understand what you may call global politics or global dynamics behind certain things. So you don't just live in isolation. For instance, I'm becoming like Abbas, but the central bank of Germany is either crashing or has crashed, and the German economy right now is in recession. Like these are things that don't even make the news. The war, or not the war, the crisis going on in France, the West is intentionally talking about it in a very biased way, absolutely biased way. The president of France asked social media to suppress the narrative going on right and the whole issue going on right now in France. So the way you view your country sometimes can be twisted by people who are not even in your country. So it's good that you do this comparison to help you understand things. And before I fall for the temptation of talking too much, I'm very happy that you guys have stuck with us thus far. Like I'm very happy. I didn't expect this kind of what's the word, engagement. It was unplanned, unprepared, many things, and then it's very amateur. We're just laughing, talking on top of our heads. There's no coordination per se. But I'm happy that we've started, and hopefully, if not next week, I think by upper week, we should begin something very proper. And I'd like everybody's appetite to be very wet, to be very expectant. We would see infrastructure. Okay, and we will talk about this. We will talk about the things that are going on. We'll talk about I wanted to talk about roads, but I wouldn't do that. There's no time. And talk about what a type a grade what I call a grade A road is, grade B, grade C, grade D. So you understand that you understand the amount of thing that goes into road making. Then you talk about sometimes the money Nigeria has, talk about the amount of thing it needs to pay attention to. By the time you make those divisions, then you see that we don't have money again. Contrary to the popular opinion that, oh, this country is stinkingly rich, we have so much money. Growing up, I believed those things, but when I began to make research, when you see the stress we go through to borrow $1 billion, then you know that we don't have money. If they can put us through that kind of stress to borrow $1 billion, and then when you see that some Abasi Bianchi, Apple is worth 3 trillion US dollars. Africa is worth 3.4 trillion US dollars. Come on. Come on. Africa, 3.4 trillion. Apple, 3 trillion US dollar. Guess what? Nigeria is worth 500 billion US dollar. Apple can buy us over and over and over and over again. So, guys, believe me, there's a whole lot. If you think you've been wowed by what I have to say and what Mr. Abbas has to say, then when our main speaker, Mr. Issachar, comes on and joins us on this podcast, I'm sure that you're going to have a very nice time. You're going to enjoy the conversation and you're going to learn a lot. So we're going to stop it right now. No, I'm not falling for the temptation again. Thank you very much from the depth of my heart, and do well to subscribe. And we would be on the days leading to the podcast or to the live stream, we would make proper announcement, advertisement. Please share the links. Once you are live, share the links, call people to join in, put in your comment section. On every meeting we have, we're going to have question and answer time toward the end. We will answer some striking questions that popped up in the comment section, so that we can address people's questions and maybe grievances and things like that. So till we see again, Godspeed, brethren.